Buenas a todos, chavales. Otro viernes más con el Star Citizen Live. En este caso, diseñando niveles. A ver si responden la preguntita que les he hecho sobre si vamos a ver los hangares privados en las ciudades o en un lugar aparte. Así que, dentro asunto.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Star Citizen Live, Designing Levels. That's a very clever title we came up with. This week's show focuses on level design for the persistent universe. And joining us on the show this week is a collection of persistent universe level designers from all aspects of the persistent universe. So,
Dios, hay una desincronización tremenda de la voz del disco Lando, qué pena. Bueno, está comentando de hecho, sí que han debido tener algún tipo de problema, porque no es normal, pero bueno. Dice que hay diferentes personas que se dedican a hacer el diseñador de niveles de todo el mundo, de todos los estudios, ¿no?
we've got a lot of questions to get through. Let's start with our introductions here. Let's start immediately to my, what is this, the right? Tobias, who are you and what do you do for Star Citizen?
Hello, my name is Tobias. I'm a senior level designer for the PU, the Persistent Universe of Star Citizen, and I think I've been here now for 4 years in a month, I
Really?
believe. Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to remember when I started. I think it's 2016, middle.
Dice que es un diseñador senior y que lleva como de niveles en Star Citizen y que lleva como 4 meses y un mes trabajando para Cloud Imperium Games.
Of 2016, so yeah.
Tobias.
And what are
That's
some of the things that you've worked on for the Persistent Universe?
So I've been part of quite a lot of things. It's random here and there, but the big things that are released that is the Surface Outpost was a major thing for me. It was one of the first things I worked on. I helped out with Area 18 and also a little bit with the rest stops in the beginning before they turned into the modular tool. For CitizenCon, I've also helped out with like the jump.
Dice que está trabajando en los outposts de las superficies, también he trabajado en Área 18 y también he trabajado en las estaciones espaciales antes de que empezara la herramienta de modular, la que utilizan ahora para hacer las estaciones.
Points that we showed and stuff like that. I think that's the major ones.
Cool. And I compliment you on your choice of location today. You're in one of the surface outposts.
I like that one. Thank you.
All right, we'll just continue counterclockwise. Frederick, who are you and what do you do for Star Citizen?
Hi, I'm Friedrich. Everybody just calls me Fred, though. I'm the principal level designer on the PU level design team. And yeah, I joined shortly after Toby in 2016. And since then, I've been working on quite a few locations, but mostly on Lorville and New Babbage.
Dice que se unió poco después, en 2016, que Toby, y que ha trabajado en Lorville y New Babbage.
Also worked on smaller things like hangars and security checkpoints and a little bit on the caves. But yeah.
He trabajado un poquito en las cuevas y en movidas de los security outposts, creo que ha dicho.
Mostly those flagship landing.
A ver, un momento. Adiós.
I've been working on quite a few locations, but mostly on Lorville and New Babbage.
Lorville y New Babbage,
Also worked on smaller things like hangars and security checkpoints and a little bit on the
hangares y puntos de seguridad.
caves. But yeah, mostly those flagship landing zones.
Cool. And I'm just going to call you Fred from now on because I just realized I've been murdering your name and I apologize.
It's fine.
It wouldn't be an SCL without me murdering somebody's name.
Right.
And then continuing our journey counterclockwise, Andreas, who's above me. Who are you and what do you do for Star Citizen?
Well, my name is Andreas. I am the lead level designer for the Persistent Universe. I've been here for quite some time, a bit over 5 years now, I think. I mostly oversee the team, take part in the initial planning, review work, but I also actually did the white box for Area 18.
Dice que bueno, que este es el mandamás de los diseñadores de niveles, de los diseñadores de niveles para el Persistent Universe, el universo persistente, y que también trabajó en el Waybox de Área 18.
Okay. So, level design as a whole, one of the reasons I'm glad we can do this show like this is when we talk about our environments a lot on shows like Inside Star Citizen, Around the Verse before that, stuff like that, and because those are very visual shows, we often tend to focus on the visuals. It was real important to me to get an opportunity to sit down and explore what level design is in Star Citizen, because we don't have like game levels in the traditional sense. You know, like, here's stage 1, here's stage 2, here's stage 3, kind of in a traditional game, but we still refer to it as level design. So for today's show, we're taking questions related to level design.
Bueno, dice que en Star Citizen que no es como otros juegos que tienen diseñadores de niveles como fase 1, fase 2, sino que es otro tipo de rollo, y que hoy están pillando preguntas para relacionadas con el diseño de niveles.
As usual, we put up a thread up on Spectrum at the beginning of the week where folks were able to submit their questions and vote up which ones they wanted to see answer most. We've pulled the ones that are appropriate for this team. Obviously, when questions or whatnot, these guys aren't the ones who decide when things come out, or prioritizations, or when are you going to do this versus this and stuff like that. But as far as the process and work involved in creating our environments and the places that players can walk through in their player character, these are the guys. So we're going to jump into the questions now. As usual, if you're watching live on Twitch, you can submit your questions with the word question in capital letters surrounded by brackets. That's going to help our fantastic community management team pull those questions out and send.
Bueno, como siempre, dicen que ya sabéis que podéis que han seleccionado las preguntas de Spectrum, que podéis enviarlas allí pues al principio de la semana, cuando empieza el live. Suelen poner allí en el Spectrum un apartado para recolectar preguntas. En el Calling of Death lo hacen de seguido y escogen las preguntas que, bueno, aparte de las más votadas, las que tienen relación con la temática a tratar, o sea, el tema a tratar.
Them to me so I can focus on the conversations going on here. So right off the bat, I'm starting with a question that I had personally. So this is just first because I'm like, yes, I want to know. Please, can we have maps, signposts in the modular space stations? It's very easy to get lost in them since they all have similar looks but different layouts.
Podemos tener mapas en las estaciones porque todas parecen igual pero tienen diferentes, o sea, pero en realidad son distintas.
Yes. So, I mean, the space stations we have at the moment is really just the first version of the kind of new, larger interiors that we have with the larger exteriors. The layouts themselves are pretty much just the first version. So we will be reworking the stations over and over again. We will have many iterations as we move along. We're going to reorganize the way it's connected together. We knew from very early on that we also needed signs inside the stations for the players to orient themselves, but it is a procedural station and we don't want to go in and kind of hand place the signs. We want the tool to do that. So,
está diciendo de que para la cartelería de las estaciones, que bueno, de entrada, que van a seguir trabajando las estaciones, lo que tenemos ahora sería una primera iteración de esa nueva tecnología modular y demás, que en el futuro irán explorando y expandiendo las estaciones y las irán mejorando con el paso del tiempo. En cuanto a la cartelería, están diciendo que no quieren ponerla a mano, sino que quieren diseñar una herramienta para poner la cartelería.
Rather than doing that, we are waiting for the tools to become available for us to automatically seed various boards inside the stations with whatever content is coming down the corridor or whatever it might be. And as far as I know, we actually have an early prototype of this working already.
Dice que hasta donde sabe, pues que hay un prototipo temprano para lo que es la cartelería, para tener una herramienta que la ponga sola la cartelería, ¿no?
Yeah, I was actually talking to Todd about this a couple weeks ago, actually, about basically the tool that would generate the signage automatically and maps like this, because again, with the way the Star Citizen is built and the scale that we're attempting, you want to try to limit as much of the by hand stuff as possible, where tools can come in to do stuff.
The entire thing with like signs and stuff is a big thing in the game. Even if you look at like flagship landing zones, for example, I know that a lot of people were kind of racing, we can only see the train times when we're at the train. We want something earlier, like in the level somewhere where we can, the train is coming in 1 minute. I'm going to go to the train station. Now we want to do that. The problem is there's a radius from the train station on how far we can actually broadcast that information. That's why this is not, the sign is not actually further away, right?
Claro, está diciendo de que Por ejemplo, que a la gente le gustaría tener un cartel o cartelería que indique cuánto tiempo falta para la llegada del tren en una estación y tal, pero claro, comenta que ahora mismo pues hay la limitación de que hay un radio, hay un límite de radio del cual se pueden alejar de esa zona para poder tener esa información. Que dice que es algo que
And this
quieren
is
hacer,
also
¿no?
something that we want to look into. So we can have boards in the city that says, next shuttle to spaceport in 30 seconds. So it's time to get moving. So, yeah.
Until then, can we tell people that you will be logging in and just directing traffic personally in your
Oh
free
yeah,
time?
for sure. Monday to Friday, 8 to 5.
Yeah, exactly. Going to be a guide, just walking around.
Next question. Do you have some kind of long-term goal in mind for each of the landing zones, additional areas, gameplay, POIs, etc., or are you going to improve them as you go with whatever comes to mind?
A ver, un momento.
Guide, just walking around.
Next question. Do you have some kind of long-term goal in mind for each of the landing zones, additional areas, gameplay, POIs, etc., or are you going to improve them as you go with whatever comes to mind?
¿Tenéis alguna idea para lo que sería la goal o el objetivo de cómo son las landing zones, las zonas de aterrizaje? ¿O simplemente vais poniendo según os van surgiendo las cosas, vais añadiendo cosas o implementando cosas según os surge?
Well, when we design these locations, we always try to think about the long-term plan. So we already put things into our landing zones, even when the systems that they rely on are not online yet. For example, hospitals in Lowell, for example, you have already like the facade of a hospital and you cannot enter it yet, but we have that real estate already reserved for when the hospital, the medical gameplay becomes online, because otherwise, we will have the system, but we won't have the space and we will have to somehow awkwardly squeeze it in somewhere. And
Dice que tienen en cuenta lo que está por venir, tienen en cuenta lo que sería a largo plazo para hacer las zonas de aterrizaje y demás. Está hablando, poniendo como ejemplo el caso de los hospitales, que aunque no se puede entrar ahora, sí tienen reservado un espacio para esa funcionalidad, para que se pueda acceder al hospital y demás.
it wouldn't do it justice. So yeah, definitely. I mean, we have also security checkpoints, customs. I mean, we have that in every one of our landing zones, and people always pass through them. And at the moment, you're not getting scanned yet, but as soon as we can, we have that functionality, we can implement that, and it is there.
Claro, dice, por ejemplo, también está hablando de los puntos de seguridad o de las aduanas. Dice que en el momento que ahora mismo en todas las zonas de aterrizaje, el Orbiter, el 18, vemos en New Babbage, vemos como hay un control, ¿no? de aduanas, pero que ahora mismo no es funcional, pero en el futuro pues se genera a los jugadores y por eso está ahí puesto ya.
So it's definitely something, stuff that we think about when we concept these layouts, when we build these locations, so we don't run into that kind of trouble down the line.
Entonces dice que cuando van haciendo una zona de aterrizaje o pues una área de aterrizaje, pues lo van planeando según, pues eso, para que sirva para el futuro. Que no quieren tener problemas de que luego necesiten ese espacio y no lo haya, ¿no?
It must be hard to include the things that you know are coming and then make preparations where possible for the things that are being considered and stuff like this. It's building for tomorrow as well as today, is I guess what I'm getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to talk to
Construir para el mañana en vez de para hoy, eso dice Discolando. Eso es lo que se hace en Star Citizen.
ask them about, hey, how do you envision this is going to work? And in some cases, we have very concrete information on how that's gonna work. In some cases, it's educated guesses, I would say, and we might have to do adjustments later on. But we always try to do our best in order to prepare.
Que dice que en algunos casos sí está claro cuál va a ser el objetivo a largo plazo de esa zona, pero en otros casos tienen que simplemente pues averiguar o tratar de indagar por instinto, por así decirlo, ¿no? Por instinto de lo que puede haber o lo que no.
For what's coming down the pipe later on.
The next question is about ground transportation. It says, will we have ground transportation between cities like railroads?
Yes and no. It's like we don't have tools yet to do stuff with. If you think about Lore World, that has tracks that you follow,
Mhm.
and we don't have any tools to do that except by doing it by hand. Which, as we already said in this chat, that that's on this scale, that's impossible to do everything by hand. So as we're looking right now, we don't have plans to add that to our existing locations, but we don't know what the tools could do in the future.
Ok, está diciendo de que ahora mismo pues le están preguntándonos si vamos a tener carreteras o pistas, ¿no? Digamos, para lo que es el interior de la ciudad, para poder andar por la ciudad, pues con un coche o con lo que sea, ¿no? Con un vehículo y tal. Y dice que ahora mismo que no tienen esas herramientas. Es decir, sí, pero no. O sea, dice que no tienen esas herramientas y que no sabe qué podrán hacer las herramientas que están desarrollándose en el futuro. Porque no pueden hacer todos esos caminos a mano.
And I would say so. Yeah, definitely maybe.
Quizás, definitivamente quizás. O sea, que se queda en el aire, ¿no? Si existe la tecnología, pues sí, pondrán carreteras en las ciudades.
Fair enough.
Pero, o sea, lo que no quieren en Star Citizen es poner, o sea, trabajar a mano las cosas, quieren hacerlo con herramientas procedurales porque debido a la inmensidad del proyecto, porque o sea, sería humanamente muy imposible, o sea, muy, muy complicado, pues serían muchísimas horas de trabajo, ¿no?
Let's see.
I mean, it would be fun to do the, Firefly railway heist kind of thing, across the countryside of Lorville. But
yeah. Do you have any input into ship interiors? And if so, how do you balance all the ship design for practicality, or is it a function between FPS and space? I guess does.
A ver.
Countryside of Lorville, but
Yeah. Do you have any input into ship interiors? And if so, how do you balance all the ship design for practicality, or is it a function between FPS and space? I guess does level design ever?
No.
Level design is ever no.
that's the ship team.
Okay.
Vale, si tienen algún tipo de input, digamos, de punto de vista de lo que es las naves, de cómo llegan las naves a los landing y demás, supongo que se refiere a eso. Y dice que no, que eso es el equipo de naves quien lo se dedica.
Next.
So we'll do a show where you get to critique the layouts of ships next.
I'll just be in the corner and just
Just,
provide.
just an analyze of each ship we have in game.
Will there be a more hostile dungeon type area in the future that are larger and more complex than the existing ones used for missions like the evict illegal occupants? My friends and I really enjoy these sorts of FPS missions right now, but they are so small and short.
Habrá más pues, en lugares tipo mazmorra en el PU, o simplemente pues será como hasta ahora, que simplemente te metes en un búnker en hacer FPS, ¿no? Y realmente pues dice que es como que se siente corto, se siente pequeño, si va a haber algo mucho más grande en el futuro.
It's possible. We're kind of hinting at, I guess we call them POIs, right? Like in Area 18, for example, where we have rooftop landings and we have other things around as well. But right now you can really just land or you can't do anything, right? The long-term plan has always been to have a lot more of these POIs in the games where you could, for example, land on a rooftop, there's an entrance, maybe there's like an entire habitation block that's been converted into an illegal drug lab, and you have to go in there and you have to clean the floors with your buddies and find your way down to whatever this lab is and take it out. There's a lot of stuff like this we can do. Also with caves, we can add content in caves to expand them even further. As well with, for example, the underground facilities, which are quite limited at the moment.
Está comentando de que sí, que sería posible hacerlo, no ve por qué no, y que de hecho, pues en el caso de 18 vemos cómo hay zonas de aterrizaje y que hay planes para hacer, pues por ejemplo, que de repente en un piso aterrices allí, bajes a un piso y allí pues esté un laboratorio de drogas escondido, tengas que descender más en el edificio, ¿no? Y tengas que limpiar toda una zona para llegar a algún objetivo. Y también la posibilidad de ampliar las cuevas, y en las cuevas pues meter más cosas de este tipo.
Have also quite extensive kind of expansion possibilities in the future.
Y los bunkers también tienen pues unas posibilidades extensas de expansión para el futuro.
So at the moment, sometimes our content seems a bit flat, but that's because we're trying to go wide. We want to build a representation of everything that we want to have in the game first. We could spend 5 years building out our corp, but this would be our corp citizen then. It wouldn't be Star Citizen, right? So we want to go wide and we want to put all the content in before we start focusing too much on individual items.
Claro, está diciendo que ahora mismo pues tienen una mirada amplia de las cosas, no quieren centrarse en algo. Sí podrían dedicarse pues estos 5 años simplemente a hacer Arcor más grande y más tal, pero no quieren hacer eso porque si no, no sería Star Citizen, sería Arcor Citizen. Entonces quieren primero hacer lo que es todo lo gordo, toda la amplitud del proyecto y luego pues ya a partir de ahí centrarse en ese tipo de cosas.
Build on the depth, right?
It's kind of like how you paint you paint a house. You start with the broad strokes. You start with the broad strokes and cover everything in a foundation first, and then you go back and you start doing the details. Detail touch ups, and then finally the fine. Stenciling work and stuff that really focuses down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it also helps us to identify where we have missing bits of the puzzles, if you want to call that, right? This size of X, Y, Z is missing. We should have that type of content on a planet or in space somewhere. So that's why it's important to get this kind of map down to identify all the different possibilities that we have before we add the content depth.
You mentioned caves. The next question says, will we see expansion and more diversity in caves in the future? For example, ones that are wide enough to drive a small vehicle into, ones with underground lakes, ones made by ice or crystals. This person's got a lot of ideas here.
Tendremos la posibilidad de ver una expansión de lo que son las cuevas de ahora, que se puedan meter vehículos en ellas, que pueda haber un lago bajo la cueva, que pueda haber cristales de hielo en la cueva.
I mean, Fred, you worked on caves, right? Way back when.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of. Yeah, there is a lot basically that we already whiteboxed and prototyped, and we had fun ideas like that, like steam geysers and lava pools, and all these nice things that could add more variations to.
Dice que tienen ideas para pues chorros de vapor y también piscinas de lava que
them, and I believe these are definitely not off the table. We haven't gotten around to implement them yet. It's depends on the reliant. I mean, there's certain systems abilities for the player to slide down slopes, to climb steep walls, to be able to swim for start. All these things that first need to be implemented to add more traversal mechanics, for example, to the caves. So
Claro, dice que antes de poner todo esto, que evidentemente no son cosas que estén fuera de la mesa, sino que tienen que esperar a ver qué clase de cosas es capaz de hacer o qué clase de mecánica es capaz de hacer el jugador, como escalar, nadar, sumergirse, ¿no? Nadar, bucear. Y pues una vez el personaje sea capaz de hacer esas cosas, pues podrán añadir más mecánicas de travesía en las cuevas.
Interesting layouts and traversal challenges in there, and then more features for the actor status system, so we can add hazards like I said, lava pools and that sort of thing.
Y luego también el tema del actor system. De que, bueno, ya sabéis que el actor system es lo que hace que el personaje sienta frío, sienta calor y pues que también reacciona a la lava. Entonces, cuando reacciona a la lava, pues podrán plantearse el tema de poner piscinas de lava en las cuevas también.
Yeah, so we definitely have ideas on that and some prototypes, and we just need to implement them for real.
Dice que definitivamente tienen ya prototipos en esa materia y que pues tienen que esperar a poder implementarlos para que sea real.
One of our approaches as well is we try to make stuff modular as well. So even with these traversal challenges that Fred did, they are also modular. We can combine them. They can have different components interchangeable, right, in the white box. And this is what we want to do across the board, right? Because hand building something very specific and playing it once is pretty boring. But if you see something, but you never really know exactly what it's going to be,
Mhm.
and you have to analyze the environment to see what the best kind of approach is. That's where it becomes interesting, especially exploration in like dark caves with limited visibility, and you have to bring your own light and stuff. That's
Claro, está comentando de que todo lo que está comentando Fred, que, bueno, el de aquí, ¿no? El de ahí arriba, dice que todas esas herramientas que ha comentado, o sea, todas esas ideas que ha comentado se van a hacer de forma procedural y modular. De tal manera de que se puedan hacer diferentes combinaciones y que a la hora de que un jugador se adentre en una cueva no sepa exactamente lo que se va a poder esperar. Y que esto pues es especialmente interesante pues para temas de exploración, de meterte en una cueva a oscuras y sin saber lo que va a haber en ella, ¿no?
it can be quite interesting once we get to
Puede ser muy interesante, dice.
Like with all things, just comes down to priorities and what you said before, Andres. It's making the wide sweeping foundational approaches, the tier 0 of as many things before we go back in tier 1s and then go back in tier 2s and stuff like that. Instead.
Claro, o sea que primero tienen que hacer las bases, primero el tier 1, luego el tier 2 y primero sentar las bases, dice, y luego pues poco a poco ir metiendo cosas. Eso es la idea, ¿no? Por eso no están hablando de esta manera.
Instead of just focusing on one thing at the exclusion of everything else.
Right. Y no centrarse simplemente en una cosa en exclusión de todo lo demás.
Will we see locations in Lorville which will allow players to work within cities? For example, the ability to work within an underground mine within the Lorville city limits. This would allow you to get, and then they go into like, yeah, we can make profit inside the cities. There are many things people want.
Vamos a poder ver localizaciones en las ciudades en las que podamos conseguir un trabajo como jugador. Como por ejemplo minas en una ciudad, en Lorville, en las proximidades.
But
yeah,
working within the city, what do you think?
Yeah, no, it's a fair request. More things to do around our landing zones. I think personally, once you make the trip down to one of these big cities and you're inside it, and we would like, there should be more stuff for you, more jobs for you to do, be it, getting a job at the Microtech Planetary Services to run errands for them, or in Lorville, like it was, suggested there that you get a permission to get involved in mining, first-person mining beneath the city of Lorville or something like that. I think those are good ideas, and they are also definitely something that we would like to see and we would like to add.
Dice que es una petición lógica, ¿no? El hecho de que se quieren hacer, o sea, coherente, ¿no? El hecho de que se quieran hacer más cosas en las ciudades, y que sí que les gustaría ver de cara al futuro el hecho de que bueno, pues puedas conseguir más trabajos o puedes realizar más actividades en las ciudades, y que definitivamente pues eso es una cosa que les gustaría poner en el futuro.
It's making me think of Beneath the Planet of the Apes right now. Okay, here's another Lorville question. Whatever happened to the secret entrance to Lorville?
Yeah, might as well take that one too. The secret entrance. Yeah, I think we started white boxing that one, and then it got deprioritized. But I mean, there's also a reason for it. We don't have the sort of smuggling gameplay yet. So as soon as we expand on the law system, that certain goods are not allowed within the city limits of Lorville, for example, and basically you cannot get through customs with them. You cannot carry them inside. Exactly.
Me están preguntando lo que pasa con la entrada secreta que supuestamente se estaba haciendo para Lorville, y dice que bueno, que ha tenido que ser despriorizada por el hecho de que están esperando a que salga hasta que salga el contrabando como forma de juego y se expanda el sistema legal, pues que ha sido aparcada esa opción, aunque estaban haciendo varias opciones, pero lo han aparcado por el momento. Que evidentemente, pues cuando exista esa mecánica, pues no se podrá pasar por aduanas con un producto o tal, y habrá que buscar un camino alternativo.
Exactly. By that point, then it would make sense for us to add some of these secret entrances to the city.
Right.
Right now, it would just be another entrance, and there wouldn't be much of a gameplay consequence to it, I guess. So as soon as we have that, such a secret entrance would get, a whole, more important kind of priority, if you want to say.
Dice que ahora mismo, pues si hacen una entrada secreta, simplemente sería una entrada más para el Orville. Y que en el momento que salga el tema de la ley, pues también que haya consecuencias y demás. Pues en ese momento, pues sí darán más prioridad al realizar las entradas o la entrada secreta del Orville.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't make sense to spend time working on back doors when at the moment you can walk through the front door with just about anything.
Yeah, I mean, this applies across the board as well with kind of any element, like Fred mentioned in the beginning. We have the hospital facade for Lorville, right, and other locations. We're probably not going to do anything about that until actually that system comes online, because otherwise we would just build something without knowing how it's going to work, and that would be inefficient.
Yep. Let's see. Now that we have New Babbage, it's another Lorville question. Now that we have New Babbage, will places like Lorville be upgraded to New Babbage standards, such as a no-fly zone removal, textures, layout, etc.?
Eso sería maravilloso. Ahora que tenemos New Babbage, las ciudades como Lorville se llegarán a los estándares que tiene ahora mismo New Babbage de no tener zonas, de no tener zonas no volables y demás. Que lo quiten ya, por favor, que quiten esas zonas no volables. Maldito Citizen en su capacidad para mentales. Muy bien, Chinarra.
Like New Babbage, can we expect to see more fluid movement between landing zones, the planet's surface, and ships?
Toby, you want to take that one, or?
Sure, I can take it. I mean,
Jump on
we
the grenade,
have that.
Toby.
We want to go, and update several of our landing zones, like when we get new systems, like has been mentioned here several times. Removal of the no-fly zone and stuff like that is a bit more tricky. It's like we're always gonna have the no-fly zone for all locations. New Babbage also has it. It's not, not there. It's just not as, how do you call it, intrusive.
In your face.
Yeah, exactly, in your face, as it is in like Area 18, for example. It's a big example where like the whole planet is pretty much covered on that. So I mean, the simple answer is yes. We will go back to locations. We will update them.
Pues eso no me gusta. Eso sí que no me gusta. Porque bueno, dice que en New Babbage en realidad sí que hay zona no volable, pero no es tan intrusiva. La verdad es que yo no me gustaría ver una zona no volable en New Babbage, con lo bien que está así, madre mía. Y dice que siempre va a haber que hay unas dificultades técnicas y que siempre va a haber una zona no volable en Lorville. Yo espero que cambien de parecer en algún momento y las quiten, porque o sea, que haya consecuencias legales de hacer eso y fuera. Madre mía. Espero que las quiten, de verdad.
We also obviously see and hear feedback from players when we have released the location. It's really good to like get the feedback in, and then we can like, oh, we want to expand this, or we get time to expand it. And it's like, what should we focus on? And then maybe we heard, that this and this is the stuff that players find most interesting in this location. Yeah, then we'll make sure to focus on that first. So it's, I mean, it's a yes and no question. It's like we will go back, but we don't plan on making like a complete rework of an old location as it looks.
Dice que sí que planean dar retoques, pero que no planean hacer un completo rework de la zona, ¿no? Un completo trabajo de la zona.
Okay.
That just to add to that, I mean, there's a lot of updates actually that are going into existing locations that are sometimes not that obvious to players. I mean, like, remember when elevators were just traveling between two endpoints, and you had to go to a specific elevator to reach a certain hangar. Now, Transit System 2.0, we can change that around. There are performance optimizations. A lot went into 3.9 actually. We split interiors and exteriors for performance reasons. I mean, a colleague of ours is working on the restricted area with that feature team that's developing that. So that is being improved, and previously released locations are benefiting from that as well.
Dice bueno, que hay cambios que sí que no se han visto o que sí que se han hecho, como por ejemplo el tema de los elevadores, que ahora pues vas al Orville y puedes montarte en cualquier elevador, no es de un punto A a un punto B, sino que cualquier elevador te lleva a cualquier hangar. Y el tema de que se está haciendo un trabajo también en las zonas en las zonas no volables y que esas zonas pues eso también se verá reflejado en anteriores lanzamientos de ciudades.
It's just when it comes to tearing the entire layout apart, or reworking large libraries of assets, that's substantially more work. And again, like, not to dismiss what Toby said, we are listening to player feedback, and we definitely let that influence future locations, and we also try to improve existing ones. But I mean, there are also certain things, Lorville's layout is just, the nature of the location. It is different from New Babbage. It is more of that, big, chunky, industrial, low-tech mega city that's in the middle of the desert, just, Judge Dredd style.
Right.
And
Claro, dice que hay cosas que evidentemente que se aprecia el feedback de los jugadores, pero que bueno, que el Orville es precisamente ese pedazo de chatarra en medio del desierto de ciudad enorme, ¿no?
New Babbage is a little more intricate with
New
the
Babbage es
domes
rollo
and that are
tecnología y
connected,
demás.
but more like little islands.
Right.
And
Y que es como más... o sea, que en New Babbage dice que es como pequeñas islas
there's just some
conectadas.
things that we won't change. But
Yeah.
hey,
There's lure obviously comes in a bit to it as well. Like Lureville is a harsh location compared to other areas we had. That
And
is also something.
art direction too, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That makes sense. It's not every location is meant to be all things to everybody. Like New Babbage was designed for the worker experience, to engender a positive experience for its workers. So yeah, things would be a little easier to get around to. It's like that. Lorville is less concerned with the well-being of the people that inhabit it.
Está hablando que en New Babbage se trata de que animar al trabajador y tratar de mejorar las condiciones del trabajador, creyendo que así va a tener un mejor desempeño. Y en el caso del Orville es todo lo contrario, no le importa tanto las condiciones laborales de la gente.
Suppose.
Ahí la diferencia de la ciudad.
Well, it's a
it wouldn't be
dystopian
as-
paradise, right?
Dystopian
That's-
paradise. Is that sure, that'll work. We'll go with that. Fred, it's a brave man who brings up elevators. Kudos.
Oh,
The number one killer.
Yeah, we're gonna regret that one.
The silent killer.
I think we all aged about 5 years in that year we worked on the transit. It's hard times.
Indeed.
So what is the current status of development on secondary locations and structures, like the ones we showed off at CitizenCon 2017 around Lorville? Things like basically the smaller outposts that are supposed to surround the bigger ones, I suppose, is what they're getting at, if I remember CitizenCon 2017.
¿Cuál es el estado de las zonas secundarias de las ciudades, alrededor de las ciudades? ¿No? Pues había enseñado pues algunas cosillas en 17, en la CIT5 de 2017 se habían enseñado pues zonas de las ciudades que estaban más apartadas, ¿no? Como más secundarias. ¿Cuál es el estado de esas instalaciones?
Suburbs.
Los
Yeah,
suburbios.
I mean, when it comes to, as we mentioned before, right, we're looking at the broad spectrum of kind of what we need to populate our planets and the universe in general with content, right? So on planets, we want to go from the very small, which is surface outposts, to the very big, which is our big flagship cities. And we also need to fill that entire spectrum in between with villages and towns and all this kind of stuff, right? So this is something that is still very much a thing and something that we'll be looking into. But it's a bit early right now to talk about those things. But we do plan on adding a lot more in general to our planets, because they're not going to be a city and 12 surface outposts. Let me put it that way.
Está diciendo de que bueno, de que hay todo un tema abierto, todo un hilo abierto sobre sobre el tema de pueblos más pequeños y demás, y dice que definitivamente pues es algo con lo que están mirando, pero no es ahora el momento, ¿no? Pero sí que va a haber ciudades intermedias, aparte de lo que es la ciudad insignia del planeta, la capital del planeta. En este caso, pues el Orville, Bajaston y tal, pues habrá pueblos por ahí, ¿no? Más pequeños.
When designing locations, where do you start? Do you start with do you start drawing the thing out on paper? Do you start with a formal like 2D design, or do you start with a 3D concepting, or like whiteboxing like a ship? Where do you start?
¿Cómo empecéis a diseñar las zonas de las localizaciones? ¿Lo hacéis en un papel? ¿Lo hacéis en 2 dimensiones? ¿Lo hacéis en 3 dimensiones? ¿Hacéis un whitebox más grande con las naves? ¿Cómo hacéis?
I think each one of us can give a little bit of an input on that, because I think every level designer might work a bit different in how they start. For example, some people like to do paper, some people just go into the editor, and some people just maybe like to write down a little basic story based on what they get from lore, for example, to just identify it. So I'm not the person who generally draws a layout.
De momento pues dice que hay como diferentes tipos o sea, cada diseñador o cada artista pues lo hace a su rollo, ¿no? Cada diseñador lo hace a su aire. Hay gente que lo hace en papel, hay gente que se basa en el lore para construir todo pues basado en eso, ¿no? Intenta hacer como un poquito de eso. Otra gente pues que hace pues un editor.
I more do a flow chart of how I want the location to flow, and then I go into the editor and works in the kind of 3D environment. That's what I do, at least.
Dice que lo que hace es como poner un suelo, en su caso, que diseña el suelo, la planta, y luego va a un editor a hacerlo en 3D, y eso es lo que él hace.
Yeah,
Él
that's kind of how I
personalmente.
start with the document, of course, that
Es como
describes every
empieza.
detail of the location to the tiniest screw. And
Yeah, I think one thing that we all do, please disagree with me, Fred, if you don't, but we always start with the document, right? Which also it has the requirements we get from the directors, like what is this location, what's the main purpose of that location, etc.
Claro, dice que todos empiezan documentándose pues a la hora de los del lore, del director de arte, qué es lo que quieren, cómo quieren que sea esa localización, qué propósito tiene, o sea, o sea, qué historia hay, ¿no? Con eso. Tienen que documentarse primero, antes de empezar a diseñar.
And then it's what Andrea said. Then we work a little bit differently. Like I also go into a flowchart as the second step, but I usually start with paper after that, and I don't go into the editor until I have a few paper-based designs that I'm feeling fairly good about. Then I start implementing them for myself. That is.
Dice que en este caso, pues él lo que hace es primero va a papel y luego cuando está contento con lo que tiene en papel lo lleva a un editor.
No, I agree. Starting off with the document is super important just to get an overview of what the contents of the landing zone are, what are the requirements from the different departments, like hey, we
dice que está de acuerdo con los otros dos, ¿no? Que mirar la documentación sería algo muy importante. Si va a haber empleadores para misiones, qué tipo de requisitos va a haber para la zona.
all that. So I mean that's basically the foundation, and a 2D layout, whether it's on paper or whether you use Microsoft Visio or something like that to create a flowchart or a very rough layout of where what is located. I mean that's what I would do. Again, you can go into more detail, drawing top-down layouts in 2D, but I think with the tools that we have to quickly sketch in 3D, basically in our editor is what we call these designer solids is that we use. We can quickly draw in 3D these types of environments.
Claro, dice que en realidad con las herramientas que tienen, que es muy rápido y muy sencillo el dibujar en 3D, que podrían hacerlo todo, o sea, hacer un mapa muy detallado en 2D, pero que con las herramientas que tienen, pues directamente pueden hacerlo en 3 dimensiones.
And get a feel for them and jump into game and walk through them and see if they work.
Pues una vez lo tienen hecho, ver qué sensaciones le produce lo que están haciendo y ver cómo sería pues trabajar O sea, pasar a través de ello en el juego y ver si están contentos con eso y seguir para adelante. Pueden hacerlo en 3D,
Can
¿no?
you think of a time when the proposed art style influenced your layout design? Like you were originally thinking, one thing, like sharp right turns, it's like that, and then you saw the art style, and you're like, oh no, we want to open this up a bit more. It's how does art influence your design?
¿Cómo el arte influyó en
It's a,
vuestro diseño?
it's a, you wanna take
No,
it?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I mean it's a very organic process, I would say, between art and design. We work very, very closely together in general. If you look at our kind of larger flagship locations, they tend to start with a concept, so we kind of always know what the deal is, right? If you look at a place like Area 18 compared to like Laurelville, where Laurelville is this dystopian.
Dice que trabajan codo a codo con los artistas y que bueno, que cuando lo primero que haces es ver el concepto, y, ¿no? Entonces cuando ven el concepto pues ya saben de qué va el asunto.
Paradise. Exactly. Versus Area 18 being a bit more, Blade Runner, cyberpunky kind of thing. It's a different approach to how we do the level design as well. Because we have to. Part of level design is to shape the kind of flow and the feeling that the player gets in a location already before we have an effect.
Claro, dice que por ejemplo tenían por ejemplo, el Área 18 que sería de tipo ciudad rollo Blade Runner y demás, con rollo cyberpunk. Y que claro, que es trabajo del diseñador de niveles el hecho de que el jugador cuando esté jugando pues se le transmitan esas sensaciones.
Fancy lights and beautiful textures, right? It's just boxes, gray with grids, right? So depending on the location, the white box will kind of adhere to whatever is required. But we tend to always start from a concept that kind of shows us a snapshot of what that location is supposed to be about, and that gives us a good kind of inkling. And of course, then we do a lot of research, like with Laurelville, we research brutalism and all this kind of big architectural style, and it influences just kind of what we move forward with quite extensively. But
dice que primero que hacen pues es eso, ver lo que sería unas imágenes de lo que son los conceptos y luego pues también el lore para darse cuenta pues eso de donde se dice que hay grandes estructuras y bueno pues todo lo que es el ambiente del Orville, ¿no? De condiciones laborales deplorables y demás.
We do work closely with art departments. We don't usually just go off into a corner as level designers, then emerge 2 weeks later with the 10 commandments. That's not what we're doing. We tend to start a little bit by ourselves to do the documentation, and then we kind of merge with an environment artist, and we start working on the layout and kind of try to adhere to the wishes of both departments, the fun and the beauty.
Chat is asking.
Claro, dice que a la hora de hacer el trabajo, pues que están en constante trabajo con los artistas de entorno y que tratan de escuchar tanto a los artistas de entorno, o sea, que tratan de escuchar a las partes, lo que sería el funcionamiento y la belleza. O sea, tratan de unir esas dos cosas, escuchan las dos cosas, ¿no? Como feedback para hacer su proceso.
Asking, is his shirt pink? Whose? Fred's or Tobias's? Fred's is like a
I
salmon.
think they're
Could be either.
Reds.
I think it's like
Salmon?
Yeah.
like a salmon
Yeah.
color.
It's
Very comfortable with my
And I think
sexuality, and I'm
Toby's-
rocking a pink shirt. Or maybe it's salmon, I don't know.
Right.
Whatever you call that.
Another
I think
question.
Toby's a bit
Bueno, dice Fred que está muy contento con su sexualidad porque lleva no tiene problema en llevar una camisa rosa. Fin de la cita.
burgundy.
I don't know, burgundy, red-ish.
Another from the Where Are They Now files. What's happened to the ice caves from the Citizen Gun demo? The current caves on Microtech seem to be copy pasted from other moons.
¿Qué pasa con las cuevas de hielo?
I mean, that goes back to what we talked about before, going broad rather than going deep. So a variation in caves is, of course, something that's going to happen. But at the moment, we are focusing on other content just to fill this entire spectra of the things that we need. So we'll have to live with a bit less variation in the content until we've kind of filled out the entire palette of what we want to build. So
Dice que de momento pues han decidido no trabajar en ese contenido, pero sí que habrá variedad en cuevas, pero de momento no. Y pues primero se van a centrar en tener la paleta completa de lo que quieren hacer antes de ponerse en detalles, como he mencionado antes.
yeah.
Will the roofs on ArcCorp make it possible to land small ships in Area 18 and take an elevator down instead of having to go through the tram or stuff like that?
Las azoteas en Área 18 podrán albergar naves pequeñas para poder aterrizar allí y, pues, ir a un elevador en vez de tener que ir por todo lo que es pues, el Rail Memorias con el autobús y todo eso.
People want to land on all those landing platforms on top of the things and take elevators down.
Well, I mean, right now we kind of force the people to land in the spaceport because we want them to go through customs and do that entire thing. We don't have the smuggling and kind of security custom gameplay yet, but it's there. So, I mean, there's a reason why we're landing in those areas at the moment. When we get those gameplay elements, then it is possible that we add additional ways into the city, both legal and illegal. But we will have to investigate that a bit further exactly how we're going to do it, because it's not quite as easy as it sounds. Everything when it comes to design involves probably like 20 more steps than what most people realize.
Dice que en el caso de que hay una razón para que se tenga que aterrizar ahí por el tema de las aduanas y demás, cuando añadan más mecánicas de juego tipo contrabando y demás, pues es una cosa que se puede mirar, de que haya tanto zonas, otras alternativas legales como ilegales para tomar tierra, pero que la gente normalmente se piensa que es fácil hacerlo, y en cuanto al diseño pues lleva como 20 pasos más de lo que la gente se piensa, ¿no?
Considerations that has to be taken.
La Mercury... el Roma, bueno, luego lo vemos.
And dependencies and all these things, and the interplay between different systems, how one affect another, and how that is represented in the game world. So it's not an easy answer.
Claro, además dice que no es una respuesta fácil porque, bueno, tienen que ver cómo evolucionará todo para poder tomar decisiones más acertadas en el futuro de si sí o si no.
No, I don't think anybody who watches our programming for any length of time is under the impression that any system is developed in a vacuum. It's the interplay between the different teams and the different game systems are at the heart of all game design, game development. Star Citizen is no exception. It's an interesting question from the chat. I'm trying to think how to rephrase it a little bit, but what ideas can you share about encouraging the use of ground vehicles in gameplay over ships? Star Citizen obviously has a lot of ships and fewer vehicles, but a growing collection of ground vehicles. Is there something level design can do to encourage the use of...
¿Qué ideas podéis presentar para animar al uso de vehículos en vez del uso de naves? Si hay algún tipo de nivel o algo que podáis aportar para que se usen más vehículos.
Ground vehicles?
De tierra está hablando.
This
Claro.
comes down a little bit to what we have mentioned and talked a little bit about with, how we add more stuff to our planets, right? We add more content to our planets, and that obviously will help with this in general as well, because you could, in the future then we could have, for example, caves where you can drive in, but you can't fly, for example, and stuff like that. And that obviously is a help for like where you would be like, oh, I need to buy this ground vehicle because then I can visit this place without danger, because it could be something where you can access it with a vehicle, but you can't access it without, because then you would freeze or, depending on the location, hurt you. So that is obviously something, and it comes back to, again, what Andreas also mentioned just now, where it's like we're trying to figure out how to fill all of this, and that's why we don't have as much variation at the moment.
Claro, está diciendo que en el futuro efectivamente se podría ir a una cueva en la que tengas que utilizar un vehículo y no puedas volar, o que simplemente necesites un vehículo debido a los peligros que haya, como que te congeles o diversos peligros. El tema está en que de momento, pues como dijo Andrew, el de arriba a la izquierda, de momento quieren hacer quieren tener lo que es el cuadro completo para ver qué pueden hacer o qué rumbo
rather
van a
than
llevar.
we have like a few different caves that we place and stuff like that, and in the future we want to add more other sort of caves like ice caves and all those stuff. But until we do that, we obviously first need to figure out how to actually fill a universe, right? It's quite difficult. It's a big challenge at all to fill a universe, just like
It's fair.
as a level designer.
Is there
I mean,
something?
it's also for
Dice que es un gran reto el ver cómo se va a sentir todo el universo entero para un diseñador de niveles.
example, you can look at this is not necessarily. I think I'm maybe speaking a little bit on behalf of other departments, but when you have things like weather effects and planetary effects, you can have electric storms and things on a planet that basically grounds every flying thing for the next 500 kilometers. But you still want to go in there, right? Then you have to get on a vehicle and you have to drive there, right? That's not necessarily level design, but these are kind of the interplay of different departments and different kind of elements of the development that can help to
Digo que... gracias, chicos. Digo que en el caso está diciendo de que también hay la posibilidad de que haya tormentas que cubran 500 kilómetros de radio y pues de repente pues para ir a aquel sitio necesites un vehículo para ir hasta allí. Es otra de las alternativas que no necesariamente tenga que ver con el equipo de diseño de niveles, pero que sin combinación con otros equipos de otras disciplinas, pues que se llega a eso. Como
kind of
tormentas y
create
demás.
like a unified experience, where we could provide the location where the player has to go to, but the only way to get there is by the interplay of like atmospheric systems and weather fronts moving in, for example. So there's stuff like that. And like what Toby said, of course, like caves, we want to go into a cave and you can't fly in there. Walking might be too dangerous because it's full of dangerous gas or heat or temperature or whatever. So you get in your rover and you can drive in for...
Sí, está hablando de cuevas, de que puede haber gases, puede haber otros peligros. O llevar todo tu equipo. Pueden ser pues cosas necesarias requisitos para llevar un vehículo, ¿no?
That has tons of anti-air missile batteries. So you are either
Sí, defensas antiaéreas
very
también puede ser otra.
heavily protected against that in your ship, or you drive in with a tank, which probably makes more sense.
Some interesting.
Sí, claro, que en el caso de que haya defensas antiaéreas, pues que tendría más sentido que vayas ahí con tu tanque, por ejemplo, para sentirte protegido. Que probablemente tendría más sentido el ir así que con tu nave.
Ideas there. Besides the refinery, cargo, and commercial stations, what can we expect as far as other kinds of stations or orbital structures?
Aparte de las estaciones de refinería y los espacios de carga en las estaciones, ¿qué podemos esperar? O sea, ¿qué espacios podemos esperar aparte de eso en las estaciones?
We plan to have quite a few. I mean, as mentioned, refinery, rest stops, cargo. We will potentially have manufacturing plants, security outposts,
Plantas de fábricas también, puestos de seguridad,
pirate hideouts,
guaridas pirata.
kind of everything that would kind of fit in a universe. So really anything that kind of has a gameplay element is a possibility to be...
Claro, cualquier cosa que sea un elemento de juego, pues tiene una posibilidad de que sea una estación. Además.
Turned into the function of a space station somewhere as well.
Claro, que además tiene la posibilidad de que se transforme en una funcionalidad de una estación en algún lugar del espacio.
So
cualquier tipo de cosa de gameplay,
you won't just see a
o
universe of rest stops. That's not really what the intention is. It would be a bit more.
Tobias, hard time now. Why do all the bunkers look exactly the same with the same layout inside?
¿Por qué todos los bunkers parecen el mismo bueno, pues parecen iguales? Son iguales.
Yeah, what the hell, Toby?
What the hell, Toby?
Jeez.
Well, I guess
So glad I didn't
simple...
build those.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, I mean, the simple answer, the answer that we have mentioned already quite a few times, it's we build one or two to do a proof of concept. And also see, is this something worth moving forward with? If we build something and players would
Claro, está diciendo de que empiezan construyendo un par de conceptos y miran si esos conceptos pues son interesantes de tener o merece la pena seguir con eso adelante. La respuesta fácil es esa, ¿no? Que no hay variedad porque siempre hacen un par para ver si funciona el tema.
I mean, our tools are also developing. Our modular tool will help with, like, for example, the bunkers in the future when we add more of those.
Sí,
I also think that
la herramienta modular pues ayudará a tener más variación con los bunkers en el futuro, más variedad.
the underground facilities, they go through the planetary surface, and that was actually, if I remember correctly, kind of an early test on how to make caves go through the planetary surface. So, because we were limited at some point in the past on having very, very few cuts or holes made into kind of the surface of a planet. We had like 3 on a planet. That's not much. So sometimes we add things to the game as well, just as a proof of concept of not necessarily a location, but also some other tech that is happening in the background.
Claro, dice que a menudo añaden cosas en el juego que en realidad son para probar otras cosas. Se está probando otras cosas en realidad. O por ejemplo, en el caso de los búnkeres, se diseñaron así por el tema de que solo estaban limitados a tener tres túneles de ese tipo y ver cómo sería una cueva vertical. Y que eso fue pues una manera de probarlo.
That might not be extremely obvious at first glance.
No, I keep going back. I keep going back to the answer you gave earlier. The going as wide and as broad as we can, developing as many tier zeros of features as possible, of the different aspects that we want to add to Star Citizen, and then going back as tech develops further, as more resources become available, as more lessons are learned over the course of game development.
Claro, dice que, discordando a repetir, que la idea es hacer la mayor cantidad de cosas en tercero de desarrollo para ver toda la amplitud posible y luego pues a medida que se vaya avanzando en ese proceso pues se aprenderá en el camino y también habrá a medida que las herramientas nuevas vayan apareciendo pues se podrá ir mejorando todo.
That we can go back then and iterate on all the things that have come before.
I mean, we also have to have in mind like the size of the PU level design team is fairly small. There's 5 level designers plus me. That's it. We're 5 people building location and 1 person looking on from the side to me. So I mean, it's
what are you doing?
Today I had a coffee. I did something else that I don't remember.
The views and opinions expressed by Andreas Johansson do not represent those of Cloudberry Games, Marvel Space Industries, or its subsidiaries.
¿Habéis visto la máquina de Star Wars que tiene?
No, but it does bring up a good point, though, that even with a staff several hundred deep, there are still always going to be finite resources. There are simply just always going to be only so many things you can work on at any given time.
But also, like I said, sorry.
Claro que hay recursos finitos, entonces no siempre pueden trabajar en todo lo que se quiera, o sea, hay que tratar de distribuir bien el tiempo para llevar el proyecto en una buena dirección.
No, after you, sir.
It's also, all the... We're one team. We're also a small team, like Andrea said, but there's also, you don't work in a vacuum, like you said. So even if we could, in theory, white box stuff faster, we still need, all the other departments as well. Like you need sound, you need art, you need VFX, you need, everything like that. So it's still like all the teams needs to get their
There's
stuff
a lot
inside.
of interdependencies, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Claro, dice que tampoco pueden trabajar todo lo rápido que quisieran, en el sentido de que cuando ellos hacen un nivel, pues está todo involucrado el tema de los efectos especiales, el sonido, que hay un montón de departamentos que están trabajando en conjunto para sacar los niveles de Star Citizen adelante.
Here's another service locations. What density in service locations are we shooting for in the final product? Right now, we have giant moons and planets with maybe a dozen or so places to visit each, making for miles and miles of land completely unused and mostly unexplored by players.
¿Qué densidad podremos alcanzar en cuanto a planetas poblados y demás? Porque dice que la gente, bueno, pregunta ahí el tipo, ¿no? Está preguntando que ahora mismo pues hay pues una docena de localizaciones y el resto pues es todo un paraje vasto y deshabitado. Y en muchas de las lunas.
I want to take that. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead. I mean, I don't mind. As I said before, like the current density of content is in no way representative of the final product of Star Citizen. No, but when you think of a planet, we want to.
La densidad actual del contenido no representa el producto final de Star Citizen. Están explorando todavía qué pueden hacer y lo que es el cuadro completo.
Areas empty for exploration, for expansion by player-built structures, for example, right? So the content will for sure increase significantly, but we need to first identify all the different types of content that we need to add. So, yeah.
Dice que, claro, que cuando los jugadores también tendrán posibilidad de construir y demás, y que eso, aparte de eso, pues también el contenido que se ve, pues aumentará significativamente, aparte del hecho de que los jugadores van a construir sus cosas, ¿no? Sus outposts y demás, pero que definitivamente pues tienen que ir mirando, ¿no? Lo van haciendo.
It's pretty sparse at the moment, put it that way. And ideally, we would have, hundreds, if not 1,000 caves on a planet, and
it's also once again
outposts.
Tech. We got OC streaming, recently that already helps to be able to add more. When we started with the Surface Outpost, we had the hard number. I don't remember the hard number at the moment in my head, but it was like this many you can fit on a moon, then the performance can't handle it.
Right.
And then we got socks and we're.
Claro, dice que ahora con el OCS y el server OCS que se plantean otras dimensiones. Antes tenían una limitación de poder tener unas pocas cuevas en una luna, porque si no, pues caía el rendimiento. Y ahora con el SOX y con el OCS, pues pueden meter muchísimo más contenido.
Working on even more performance stuff, that obviously also gives us the ability to okay, we can double this or we can, add more and stuff like that. So it's always going to be that as a big thing.
That's a good point, Toby, to bring up that before the era of SOCs and streaming and stuff like that, there was a resource cost to covering these planets, so we had to work within limits. So
yep.
Next question is about procedural tools and how they apply to major landing zones. I guess the first question is: do they? Do we use procedural tools when developing the major landing zones?
Usamos herramientas procedurales cuando hacemos.
Not for the main area. So the difference, obviously, between like a rest stop and a major landing zone is that a major landing zone is hand built.
Dice que se utilizan herramientas procedurales para las zonas de grandes de aterrizaje y dice pues que para las zonas principales, la zona grande de aterrizaje que se hacen a mano.
To the biggest degree, it's still built. We're trying out to build with like modular art pieces in a sense, so we still work faster because obviously they're big and having to create unique pieces for everything is, you need, I don't know how many people you would need to actually do that for every location we need to add to this game.
Siguen a pesar de todo utilizando módulos para hacer las estaciones, porque si no necesitarías una burrada de gente para hacerlo, ¿no?
But they don't use the modular tool for that. It's still hand built by us and an artist placing those modular pieces together.
Pero no hay una herramienta procedural, digamos. Ellos siguen poniendo las piezas, esos módulos. Los diseñadores de niveles siguen poniendo las piezas para hacer las grandes zonas de aterrizaje.
Deciding how we want it to be and the flow. However, we might use the modular tool for side areas, and maybe like if we add an underground, similar cave system to a location, we could in theory obviously use the modular tool, and that's part of a major landing zone, but it's a different part, so to say.
Claro, que podrían, por ejemplo, utilizar el sistema que utilizan para las cuevas y añadir una cueva, pues sí que podrían hacer eso de forma procedural y demás.
Since it was brought up, I just keep thinking about
Pero sería solo ese cacho.
I really want to go underneath Lorville now, and I don't know why. I want a whole underground cave system under Lorville now.
dice Dice Discolando que no sabe por qué, pero ahora quiere todo un sistema de cuevas debajo del Orville por algún motivo.
There's a
Okay.
reason for all those fake doors. So.
Yeah. Send over the Jira, please.
Yeah. Hey, I can make Juras. Don't tempt me. Are
It's
there
learning.
Oh, it's becoming sentient.
Are there plans to adjust hangars so the openings aren't so tight, or a more variety of ship parking like runways or multi-story car parks, or even communal hangars? One of the great, basically, they're looking for more ways to store the ships than just the boxes and the landing pads that we have now.
Hay planes para ampliar las puertas para que encajen las naves o zonas de hangares comunes, simplemente más variedad de lo que es almacenar la nave en una caja como tenemos ahora.
And why are the boxes so
Yeah.
tight?
¿Y
Yeah.
por qué, y
So
por qué las
we-
cajas
we-
son
we-
tan apretadas, no?
We've come up with these different kinds of metrics for the differently sized hangars. The thing is, the ship's team keeps building ships, and
Go ahead,
basically
throw 'em
what-
under the bus.
yeah,
The ships just keep getting bigger.
yeah. Shout out to John Crew and his gang. No,
Name calling as well.
No, basically, I mean, what ship is supposed to land where is not up to us. One thing that we have suggested is to add, for example, an auto landing area that goes on top of the hangar. So you players who would like to be on the safe side and engage autopilot sooner than before being actually inside the hangar, that they could do it already on the outside, which would make things a lot easier. I don't know, this was a proposal by me, and I think also the live design team like that, and it just needs to now be.
Claro, dice, bueno, el caso es que la gente, que el equipo que hace naves sigue haciendo naves y entonces nosotros, pues, jeje, risas y demás. Y saludos a John Crew, eso lo dice, ¿no? Entonces, claro, el tema está diciendo que una de las alternativas o sea, que ellos no son los que deciden qué nave va en cada sitio, eso lo deciden otras personas. También se plantea la opción de que cuando del autolanding que aparezca mucho antes, que no te tengas que meter abajo en lo profundo del hueco, sino que aparezca mucho más arriba la posibilidad de autolanding, para que aquellos jugadores que quieran pues puedan hacerlo más fácil.
Prioritized and be implemented. Yep.
I also think that we're looking at improving kind of the general UI experience. You have a bit more helpers when it comes to landing hangars. So
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, if I'm gonna break the fourth wall, is that hangars are used for spawning and despawning ships, and that's why we also kind of single out ships into one per hangar, because seeing ships popping in and out of existence all around you isn't fantastic.
Yes, and I do want to add that we were poking some fun at the ship team, but by no means everybody knows their work, like with the Carrack. Remember how the Carrack changed sizes multiple times? A bigger ship does not automatically equal better for a number of reasons. This is just one of them. So
It's not the size of the ship; it's the motion of the ocean.
once again, the views and opinions expressed by which one of you said it? Andreas Johans do not represent those. Okay. Let's see. Will we see a return of AI traffic landing at landing
No,
zones?
no era mi pregunta. No era mi pregunta, cabrones. Quiero mi pregunta. A ver.
Of the ocean.
Once again, the views and opinions expressed by which one of you said it? Andreas Johans do not represent those. Okay. Let's see. Will we see a return of AI traffic landing at landing zones?
Veremos la vuelta del tráfico aéreo a las zonas de... O sea, el tráfico aéreo por IA a las zonas de aterrizaje. Por inteligencia artificial,
Well,
NPCs.
yes, of course.
Sí, por supuesto, dice.
I don't actually remember why that went away, but we did have AI traffic at some point, right? But I think it had to be disabled for some reason or another. In general, our landing zones are a bit dead at the moment. There's not a lot of stuff going on, but we do plan on adding everything from AI traffic to moving background objects and all that kind of stuff. So
Dice que sí, que planean mover desde eso hasta objetos que se muevan de fondo y demás. Pero por algún motivo tuvo que deshabilitarse, y no recuerdo ahora por qué, pero tuvo que deshabilitarse ese tema y ahora pues no hace falta. Básicamente que dice que sus zonas están bastante... Las zonas de aterrizaje ahora mismo están bastante muertas en ese sentido.
I know some part of it was related to the physics rework that was necessary because they needed a smarter way to simulate them without killing everybody's physics.
Yep.
When you just dump that many ships in.
Y dice que también tenían que hacer un tema de rework de trabajo de las físicas porque tuvieron que sacarlas para que no mataran a todo el mundo.
Let's see. We talked a little bit earlier about considerations made for the future when you're building stuff for right now. This question is literally, what considerations do you make for a PU that will eventually have more than 50 players?
¿Qué consideraciones, o sea, qué cosas habéis tomado en cuenta para cuando el PU tenga más de 50 jugadores?
Well, I mean, we try to plan and build our locations for the long term, right? I mean, even 50 players is a lot more than we had when we released the first of our locations, right? So that's
Gracias
even
por el follow.
quite an increase. I mean, just looking at our spaceport, some spaceports have slots for up to 50 hangars, and 50 hangars can handle a lot of simultaneous traffic going in and out. Our cities are expandable. Looking at, for example, in the future, for example, with Area 8.
Claro, dice que en realidad construyen sus ciudades para de cara al futuro y que las ciudades tienen la posibilidad de expandirse en caso de que sea necesario.
We have all the alleyways in the city that are basically modular caps. They're little L-shaped alleyways. They don't really do much right now, but we can expand on them in the future and add alleyway networks. So habitation is another thing that's very easily scalable. We have so many, looking at Area 18 again, for example, there's so many towers and skyscrapers around. It's very easy to kind of fit the amount of player accommodation that is required. So we do try to...
También dice que, por ejemplo, los lugares, o sea, las viviendas, que también es algo muy fácil de escalar, que tomamos como ejemplo Área 18 y cómo se hacen los edificios, que eso era algo muy fácil de hacer. Y acomodar a toda la gente que sea necesario.
In the long term. I mean, how many people are going to end up on the server real time in the future? I don't know.
¿Cuánta gente vamos a tener en el servidor en el futuro? No lo sé. No lo sabe.
We'll see.
Ya veremos.
From a level design perspective, what gameplay features are you most looking forward to? And what are you waiting for to really to open you up to possibilities?
¿Qué características del juego estáis esperando que aparezcan? ¿Qué posibilidades que tengan que ver con el diseño de niveles?
Smuggling, for me personally.
No. Sí,
Because
contrabando.
that means we can start adding those secret paths and stuff like that players need to find to get into a city without, getting caught. That's something, but that's just for me personally.
That's what I'm asking. I mean, for
Para
you
él personalmente una de las cosas que me llama es
then it's definitely
el
smuggling
entrar y
from my
salir
side.
sin ser pillado, ¿no?
I'm not sure if it counts,
contrabando.
but go ahead, Fred, please.
Probably same for me, but maybe I can think of something more creative while you answer the question.
All right, Andreas.
Well, I'm not sure if it really counts, but for me it would be being able to build my own place somewhere in the universe, setting up a little outpost somewhere.
Dice que para él lo que más le gustaría es el poder construir un lugar suyo propio, un outpost.
Shoot at flybys with my shotgun and tell them to get off my land, that kind of thing.
Disparar a moscas con su escopeta, alejándolos de su tierra.
That's what I'm looking forward to. Exploration.
Y exploración.
Exploration and
Exploración
outpost
también.
building. That's my thing.
You could call yourself a pioneer.
Perhaps.
Pregunta Discolando si tiene una Pioneer y dice quizás.
Right? Fred, you got any other thoughts?
No, I think it would also be smuggling for me. Additions to
Dice
the
que también quiere hacer que
system,
dedicarse al
basically,
contrabando
and,
el Fred.
yeah, that would be cool.
Y es una de las cosas que
I
espera.
think it's just in general a cool thing that we talk about. So it's not, it's the easy answer in this situation as well.
Yeah,
It's good to be first.
Yeah. You start by creating all the ways that things are supposed to work, and then you go, and then as these more additional systems come on, then it's finding all the ways to circumvent it. So I think that's one of the reasons a lot of folks are looking forward to things like the Mercury, because of its, you know, the passages underneath the soiling compartments and stuff. It definitely stirs the imagination.
Claro, definitivamente todos los pasillos que tiene la Mercury para poder esconderse y demás que prende la imaginación en el caso de la Mercury y las mecánicas de contrabando y demás.
Why are there often trains between the habs and our spaceships? I find it quite tedious and would love to have a landing zone where I wake up next to a hangar.
¿Por qué hay trenes entre las zonas de vivienda? Me gustaría poder me gustaría poder levantarme de la cama para ir directamente al hangar.
That's it. That's the question. This
Fred?
person doesn't want to ride in trains. This person doesn't like trains.
How can you not like trains?
Trains are great.
They're saying, have you considered just putting an apartment complex like right off of a hangar?
Well,
So it's right there.
yeah,
¿Has considerado
I mean,
poner un complejo de apartamentos justo al lado del hangar?
the apartments that you have your pod in. I mean, apartments are probably gonna be in the city center or on other parts, not directly in, you know, next to the airport or / spaceport in this case. I mean, what we could foresee is the option to maybe rent something like a hotel or something like that that's closer to the spaceport for convenience. I think permanent habitation is always going to be part of the city. But I think that there's maybe some compromises, you know, with temporary housing that could be made.
Dice que hay algún tipo de tema con casas temporales como alquileres y demás, alquilar un motel que esté cerca del landing, que podría ser algo viable, pero las viviendas que siempre van a estar lo que es en el núcleo de las ciudades, pero bueno, que habría la posibilidad quizás de alquilarse un apartamentito ahí con vistas al puerto de 18, ¿no? ¿Quién sabe?
From the chat here, what's been your favorite area to work on so far?
¿Cuál ha sido la zona que más...
Difficult question.
¿Cuál ha sido la zona que más os ha divertido, o sea, la que más os ha gustado trabajar?
That's why everyone is thinking, I think. For me, that's I can't talk too much about it because it's a future location. But
Dice, para mí no puedo hablar mucho de ello porque es una zona del futuro.
to mention one that I really enjoyed working on, that was also the Surface Outpost. It was the first thing I really got to work on when I started here. And I quite enjoyed that, like building those
Y otra de las cosas en las que le ha gustado mucho trabajar es en los outposts de la superficie. Mira la cara de Discolando que pone, como digas algo, te mato.
small just areas to figure out what they could
Bien,
be, how they
bien.
could work.
Sigue hablando
and
de los
stuff like
outposts del
that.
principio. Bien, bien.
was
Todo correcto.
Mostly for the
No hagas
experience. It was a
spoiler.
really fun experience building though, like the team with the team and everything like that.
Okay. Who's next?
Yeah, for me, was probably New Babbage.
Vale, New
Basically
Babbage.
building upon the stuff that we learned when developing Lorville, and having that, you know, influence that new landing zone, and coming out of the low tech industrial streets of Lorville into something a little bit more shiny. So it was also very
Claro, viniendo de lo que es la zona de Lorville y trabajando en algo más reluciente, como la Michael Dish, que le moló el rollo.
very cool. And yeah, it's I think a nice landing zone. I like how it's come together, and yeah, just it was fun working on it.
Fred?
I mean, I don't have.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. We all look the same.
No, we've been doing this for... Continue. We're almost done.
Yeah, well, that's a shame. I don't get a chance to work on many locations, but I did work at Grimhex way back when, and Area 18, and I do still have a thing for Area 18 because I do like Blade Runner, I do like kind of cyberpunk.
Dice que trabajó en Greenhex en Área 18 y que tiene algo por Área 18 porque le gusta el tema cyberpunk, la temática cyberpunk, es algo que le gusta.
So It's just the neon and the grit and the
Los neones.
dirt
Sí.
and the seedy elements of a city. That's what kind of appeals to me.
Los neones y el tema ciudad el polvo, ¿no? Que es algo que le gusta, ¿no? Digamos, de 18, toda esa suciedad que hay de Cyberpunk y demás.
Let's talk about Jumptown. How did Jumptown come about? And how did Jumptown come about? And what are our thoughts on another Jump? Is there a Jumptown 2 in our future?
¿Hay un Jumptown 2 en el futuro? Laboratorio de drogas, así popular.
Is there, Fred? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I think that was not something that was spawned, from the level design department.
Really?
I think I think you might have to ask the life designers about that. Do you agree, Andreas?
It's possible. I hardly even remember, to be honest. But yeah, it's not really something that we were very heavily involved with. But that type of content will, of course, be something that we would be eager to work on.
Okay.
Ese tipo de contenido es algo definitivamente lo que se trabajará, pero que no era decisión de este departamento el que existiera ese tipo de cosas.
We're almost out, so let's do some rapid fire questions. Let's see if we can get through some of these last remaining questions here. Can you implement movement in the cranes in Lorville?
I think we talked about that already. They did move at one point, I think, but they stopped. So we just have to whip the workers to get them working again.
Okay. Will the food vending machines have functionality and video game machines have operational minigames?
Tendrán funcionalidad las máquinas de vender comida y tendrá y las recreativas se podrán jugar a minijuegos.
Yes.
Sí, sí.
Okay.
Sí.
Will refinery decks and cargo decks be present at all rest stops?
No.
Okay.
Las cargo decks y las refinerías estarán en todas las estaciones y en todas las rest stops y dice que no.
Do you plan on adding secret, unmapped locations, rest stops, or stations in deep space?
¿Planeáis añadir localizaciones secretas como rest stops o otros lugares?
Yeah, of course.
Sí, seguro. Por supuesto.
100%.
100%.
Somebody in the chat when Tobias was like, I can't talk about it, they're like, what about open development? I'm like, what about surprises? What about discovery? What about things we want you to find for yourselves? Let's see. Number 27. Will planets that are inhabited eventually be populated with smaller, procedurally generated cities and other facilities and missions beyond box deliveries instead of just minor outposts?
Los planetas que podrán tener población en el futuro de manera procedural en lugar de tener solo pequeños outposts mineros.
Okay, that was a bit
Yes.
longer than a short
Yeah.
question.
Yes.
Yes.
Sí.
Okay. Will locations that are currently static have damage states if they're attacked, or degradation if there's not any maintenance done to them?
Las localizaciones tendrán degradación si no hay mantenimiento o niveles de destrucción si sufren ataques.
So I know there's plans to make wear and tear and various states depending on different types of interaction that might occur, hostile or non-hostile, with said outpost.
Dice que sí que hay planes para hacer ese tipo de cosas en el futuro.
Yeah,
Diferentes
and
niveles.
just think about, all these other systems that are gonna come online later, like power and atmosphere that couldn't be disabled, enabled. Actually, this might even be something that I might be more excited about than smuggling, or about as excited.
Actually true.
Messing with the space station and seeing the effects. I think that's gonna be cool.
I mean, that's also something.
Dice que actualmente debería ser algo con lo que esté más entusiasmado que el contrabando, el ver todos los efectos, todo el tema de energía y el tema de atmósfera y demás, en el efecto de atmósfera en las ciudades.
I know this is quick fire, but when you look at the content that we want to do on the planet as well, we do plan to add everything from power to resource transfers to oxygen atmospheres. So when we build all this content from the very tiny to the very big, we want to make sure that this also works across the board, right? Because we want to have this interactive environment and not just a static world that the player floats through some kind of bubble, So
All right. Roads. Where we're going, will we need roads?
Está comentando del tema bueno, de que lo que es oxígeno y demás, que no quieren que simplemente los jugadores vayan a lo que es que tengan la sensación de que están entrando en una burbuja. Así que en el futuro pues habrá varias cosas que quieran que se vayan añadiendo. Bueno, que cuando empiezas a estar trabajando desde lo que es desde los inicios hasta ahora, pues no quieres que eso se convierta en que el jugador tenga esa sensación. ¿Otra vez?
Yes.
yes.
So roads are
I
still a
mean,
thing.
Tendremos carreteras, sí.
I don't know if we need them, but we will have them.
Okay.
Just waiting for tools.
Right. Last but certainly not least, will there still be a replacement for Port Olisar? And if
¿Habrá un reemplazo para Port Olisar?
so, will the old Port Olisar be left in game? Is it a derelict station? What can you tell us anything about Port Olisar?
¿O estará la estación abandonada? ¿O quién si nos puede decir algo de Port Olisar?
Port Olisar.
Fred is doing the cutoff.
Just
motion
like-
right
Cancel
there.
mission. Cancel mission. Power supply. Knife in the power supply.
Pasando del tema, dice.
Who knows, right?
I mean,
¿Quién sabe?
yeah, Port Olisar is a thing. It's a thing in the universe that will
Port Olisar es una cosa
remain
en
a
el
thing
universo.
in the universe some way or another.
We shall see.
What?
It's the bastard child that we didn't want, but no, we wanted it. But
Es el hijo bastardo que no quisimos, pero bueno, sí lo quisimos.
Shh. Yeah, you're right. Fred, cut.
Once again, for the cheap seats, the views and opinions of Andreas Johansson do not represent those of Cloud Imperium Games, Robert Space.
Una vez más, las opiniones o las cosas que dice Andreu no representan a lo que opina Claudio Imperium Games.
Industries or its subsidiaries. Guys, you did it. You made it through your first
3 disclaimers. Oh,
Star
that's great.
Citizen Live. Yes, 3 disclaimers is a record. Congratulations, Andreas Johansson. 3 disclaimers in one show is our record. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be here on the show with us. We wanted to do this for a while, so appreciate you making the time for us towards the end of a Friday.
Hey,
I was
thank
going to
you.
say now you can all go home, but you're already there.
You're home.
Last week we
Podría deciros que podréis ir a casa, pero ya estáis ahí gracias por participar en el Star Citizen Live y demás.
did a hosting last week. We hosted Bognagus, if I remember correctly, and if I'm not remembering correctly, I'm an ass. We liked it so much last week. We're going to do it again this time. We're going to raid Zvonimir. Let's hope I'm pronouncing that right. Zvonimir. He's one of our French streamers who works with Gout Slayer, if I remember correctly, and they do a lot of the translations for the French community, which is a terrific community. So we are going to go ahead and see if we can host Zvonimir, if I can remember how to spell his name right. For those wondering why we're
Vale, dice que
picking
va-
some
que va a
others and
hostear a
not
un-
others, we're going to do this from now on. So we're going to make this a thing. So if you're not being hosted right now, just keep doing what you're doing, and we'll eventually work your way through. Talk to the community team. That is Tyler and Ulf and Molly, and I left off Christian last week, and I felt like an ass afterwards. Like the second I went off, I went, oh man, I forgot Christian. Whatever. So Christian, talk to them if you're interested in being hosted after an SCL. So we've got almost 1,300 people. So when you go there, when you jump into Zvonimir's channel, tell him Ulf says hi. For Star Citizen, I'm Jared. That was Andreas. That was Tobias. That was Fred. And we'll see you next week, everybody.
Bueno, y ahí se acabó. Ahí se acabó. Hosteado otro streamer, esta vez un streamer francés. Y ya está, la mandé ahí todos los viejos. Y nada más. Esto ha sido todo por el Star Citizen Live. Daros las gracias por el apoyo que me dais siempre, que sois cremita de la buena. Y me voy a echar un ratito al Citizen. Nos vemos ahora.